one of the interesting things about going out after 18 months or so in the hills is I felt distinctly car sick in Kathmandu.
Oh, we both did, yeah.
Yeah, it was quite interesting that we hadn't been in vehicles at all during that period. But anyway, at this stage the airstrip at Lukla had been constructed, and there were very few flights coming in, but we both managed to. I went ahead of Diane and came up to the hospital in advance, and this would have been about just after Christmas, wasn't it?
No, it was you were about a week before Christmas. I flew in.
All right, a week
Christmas
before.
Eve.
Oh, that's correct. Yeah. All right, so it was a week before Christmas, and when we left, we had a single apartment in the hospital, and there was quite a lot of money in cash that was used for paying teachers and construction work and things like that. So we left our room locked in order to look after the money. And little did we know, little did I know, that the hospital cat, had concealed itself in our room after we left. The Sherpas couldn't get into the room to feed the animals, so they sort of poured milk in under the door to keep it alive. And the damn thing, used my clothing shelf as a toilet. So welcome back to the hospital prior to Christmas was a fairly smelly sort of cat-ridden affair. Diane came in a week later, and you flew in on Christmas Day. Christmas Eve.
Christmas Eve, hoping to walk up to Kundi in a day, which would have been physically possible for me at that stage, but the weather was so bad. There was snow on the airstrip, and Hardy Fuhrer, the Swiss pilot, flew us in the Pilatus, and he had very firm ideas about what was safe and what wasn't. So having disgorged us, he just turned around and took off again with all these sort of wailing tourists who were waiting to go out for Christmas Day, wanting to get on his plane, but he felt it was too dangerous to take anybody.
Well, you had about 6 inches of snow on the airstrip.
There was, yes. And anyway, Serta Mingma was there to meet me. And so we headed off, and I just had Chinese sneakers shoes on, and he said they weren't adequate for the conditions. And he made me put on a pair of shoes, leather shoes that had been bought for him in New Zealand when he visited New Zealand, and in fact they turned out to be far worse, so we transposed back. But it also meant, because of the conditions, that we didn't get as far as we wanted to, so we ended up staying the night in the last house in Josali, which is just below the Namche Hill. And it came to me while I was there, we of course the Sherpa houses are so constructed that the animals are kept in the basement, and the first floor is where the living is, and obviously where the sleeping is. So we were sleeping on the first floor, and there's all the animals milling around down below, and I thought how appropriate it was for a Christmas Eve. Anyway, Boris had given me for our Christmas dinner some sauerkraut and sausage, which he'd made himself, and both of them. And so we arrived in Kundi on Christmas Day in the afternoon, and so had an evening Christmas dinner of Boris's sauerkraut and sausage. So it was a fairly memorable Christmas.